discuss with you about the continuation of the learner-centered psychological principles. We've already discussed the different principles under the under cognitive and metacognitive factors. So today I'm going to discuss with you about motivational and affective factors. Under this motivational and affective factors, we have the motivational and emotional learning influences, intrinsic motivation to learn, and the effects of learning. All right, so let's begin with the motivational and emotional influences on learning. What and how much is learned is influenced by the learner's motivation. Okay, again, what and how much is learned is influenced by the learner's motivation. If you can still remember, during the time when you answered the inventory, one of the parts of that inventory focused on motivation. Okay. Motivational and emotional influences on learning are like the fuel and the engine of a car. So when you say fuel and engine of the car, they help you drive your learning forward. So let's talk about motivation. You think of motivation as the fuel that powers your car. Okay? It is the fuel is what gets your car going, and it keeps you moving forward on your learning journey, right? Am I correct? So when you're motivated as a learner, you're excited and eager to learn new things. Maybe you're always curious about the topic, or you have this what you call goal that you want to achieve. Whatever it is, motivation gives you the energy and the drive to keep going even when things get tough. Now, if we talk about emotions on the other hand, emotions are like the engine of your car. So a while ago, motivation is like the fuel, while emotions are like the engine of the car. Why? Because emotions provide the energy. I mean, just like an emotion or just like an engine, emotion provide the energy and the momentum to pro propel you forward. So when you're feeling positive emotions like when you're happy, when you're excited, or when you're curious, what happens is that learning becomes easier. Learning becomes more enjoyable. But sometimes you might also experience negative emotions because it's not all the time that we are happy inside the classroom. Even the teachers themselves are also experiencing different emotions. Now, in your case as learners, you also experience frustration. You also experience anxiety, boredom. All of these um, can slow you down, and at the same time, it can stop you in your tracks. So just like a car that needs both a fuel and an engine to move, as learners, you are um you have this what you call learning. And successful learning only happens when you are both successful learning requires both motivation and emotional engagement. So when you're motivated as a learner, you experience positive emotion. So you're more likely to stay focused because you always feel good. You that don't only feel focused, you're also engaged and you're very much committed to your learning goal. Okay, that is under the motivational and emotional influences on learning. Now, Another principle another principle under the motivation and emotional factors, we have the intrinsic motivation to learn. The learner's creativity, higher order thinking, and natural curiosity all contribute to motivation to learn. I have already discussed this with you about intrinsic motivation, but let me give you a more in-depth discussion about intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation to learn is like having your own personal drive or your own personal desire to learn something just because you find it interesting, you find it enjoyable, or you find it personally rewarding. Imagine you have a favorite hobby. All of us have our hobby, but among the hobbies that we have a favorite hobby. Like for example, if your favorite hobby is playing video games or drawing. So you're not doing it because someone told you to, right? Or because you're going to get a reward for it. Instead, you do it because you genuinely enjoy it and that you feel good when you're doing it. So that's what you call intrinsic motivation. It is when you're motivated to learn or do something simply because you find it fun, you find it fascinating, or even you finding it satisfying. So you're not looking for what you call, I mentioned last time, the external rewards. You are not looking for praises. You're doing it because it brings you joy and it also brings you fulfillment. So when you're intrinsically motivated to learn, it's like having your own built-in curiosity. Naakay built-in curiosity, and not only that, you also have this excitement within you that drives you to explore new ideas, master new skills, and even deepen your understanding of the world around you, simply because it makes you happy. Hence, intrinsic motivation is stimulated by the tasks of optimal novelty and difficulty relevant to your personal interest, and it also provides you for your personal choice and control. Now let's proceed to the effects of motivation on effort. So when you say acquisition of complex knowledge, how you acquire difficult knowledge and how you acquire difficult skills require extended learner effort and guided practice. So that means for you to learn difficult knowledge and for you to learn difficult tasks, it requires you to have more than expected effort. And of course, your teachers will give you a lot of opportunities to practice with her guidance. Now, without learners' motivation to learn, the willingness to exert this effort is unlikely without coercion. Plus, think of motivation as the engine that powers your efforts, as what I said a while ago. When you're motivated, it's like you are having a full tank of gas. So you're ready to put in effort and tackle challenges, all the challenges head on. Here is how motivation affects your effort. So when you talk about increased, how do you increase your effort? When you're motivated, you're willing to put in time and energy needed to achieve your goals, right? So you're like a runner with a burst of energy at the starting line, and you're really eager to moving and give it your all. Now, if we talk about persistence, because it's part of when you are persistent because you are motivated. So motivation also helps you stay focused and you keep going even when things get tough. In other words, you're like a hiker. You are climbing a very steep mountain. You might encounter, of course, if it's a very steep mountain, you're going to encounter a lot of obstacles along the way. However, your motivation will keep you pushing forward until you reach the top. Now, if we talk about quality of effort, because sometimes you put effort, but your effort does not have enough quality because, again, of your lessened motivation. Now, motivation also influences the quality of your effort. When you're motivated, you're more likely to pay attention to details. You think critically. And you also seek for new ideas, strategies, para ma-overcome nimo ang mga challenges. In other words, you're like an artist putting the finishing, katong nag-finish touching na lang ka na final touches sa imuhang art, sa imuhang masterpiece. And you are totally committed to doing your best work no matter what. In conclusion, motivation fuels your effort by increasing your what? By increasing your willingness to work hard, persist, all the challenges, and you also maintain a high quality of standards in your what? High quality of standards. Asa naman ko? Nawa naman ko. One moment. Acquisition to know effects of motivation and effort. All right, so in conclusion, I'll just end na lang. In conclusion, you maintain this what you call high standard of quality in your work. Now, it's like having what you call powerful engine that drives you towards success. No matter what challenges that come along the way, no matter what challenges that you face, you are able to overcome them. All right? So, let's now proceed with the developmental and social factors. Under the developmental and social factors, we have the developmental influences on learning and the social influences on learning. All right, so we will begin with developmental influences on learning. As individuals develop, there are different opportunities and constraints for learning. Okay? And learning is also effective when differential development within and across physical, intellectual, emotional, and social domains is taken into account. All right. So think of developmental influences of learning as the building blocks that shape how you learn and it grows over time. Much like the stages when you're building a house. Diba? When you're building a house, there's this what you call early foundation. So just like a very strong foundation, it is essential for what you call a sturdy house. Your early, as a person, your early experiences and your interactions with your family, with your caregiver, with whoever you interact at home, are considered the groundwork for learning. So this includes your family, your environment, your early childhood education, and the relationships that you have with your caregivers. Now, these experiences help provide you the basic skills, all the basic skills that you need to know as a child. It also provides you with your attitudes, with your beliefs that will, of course, guide you in your learning journey. Now, if we talk about the growth and development, because it's mentioned here, developmental influences on learning. Now, let's talk about growth and development. As you grow, as your learners grow, your learning needs also change. Your abilities change. Because a child who is in the middle school has a different ability, has a different learning needs with adolescents in senior high school, right? Okay? So much like adding walls and rooms to a house. Developmental milestones such as language acquisition. Okay, how we acquire our language, our first language, or our mother tongue, our cognitive development, and even our social-emotional growth. All of these shape how we learn. It also shape how we interact with the people around us. All of these milestones built, of course, upon, because as we said, they are built together. So they are built upon each other and they create this what you call a framework for more complex learning later on. Because again, it's not all the time that the children will only be learning about easy things. They will also be encountering some complex knowledge and complex skills. All right? And not to forget individual differences. Just as all the houses or every house is unique, every learner is also different. What are those factors that set us apart from one another? Our genetics, our temperament, our personality. All of those play a role in how we approach learning and how we respond to educational experiences. So in the classroom, the reason why there are students in your class who are behaving this way and that way because they're being influenced by their genes or by their genetics, even their temper, and also their personality. Okay? So under what's the role of the teacher then? If you're the teacher or even as teachers, you have to highlight it among your learners that they have to understand and respect these individual differences because it is really essential that we respect and embrace individual differences because it's only the way it's one way of supporting um the unique learning needs and strengths of your learners. Now, if we talk about, di ba, na-mention na nato ang physical, na-mention na nato ang mga different aspects. So, I'll also highlight the environmental influences like the surrounding of a house. Your environment can either support or hinder your learning. So, this includes aspects like your school environment, for example. Do you have access to resources? What is your socio-economic status? No, are you belonging to the marginalized or are you belonging to the middle class or the working class or the elite in the society and even the cultural background? All of these environmental factors can provide opportunities for learning and growth. Pero aside from opportunity, makahatag sad na siya og barriers. Daghan sad barriers that of course we need to overcome. In summary, developmental influences on learning are like the building blocks that shape your learning journey from the ground going up. By understanding and addressing these influences, as educators, we should create supportive environment that not only foster optimal learning, but also development for all our learners. All right? And let me proceed with the social influences on learning. All right? Social influences on learning. Learning is influenced by social interaction, interpersonal relationship, and communication with others. So I think you're very familiar with the idea as to why teachers make sure that they let you work in pairs, the teachers let you work with groups, no, or with a team, because the teacher look into to take into consideration or takes into consideration this 11 principle about the social influences on learning. So it's like the people, no, when you say social influences on learning, are like the people and the interaction that shape how each learner learn, how each learner grow. No, much like the influence of the family, the friends on the daily life of the learner. Okay? Social influences on learning also encompass the people, the relationships, even the cultural context that help this what you call shape their experiences as far as the educational aspect is concerned. By recognizing these social influences, we as educators um, are able to create this what you call supportive learning environments that not only foster collaboration, engagement, but also academic success for our learners. Okay, I think that would be it. I will continue with the next session on the next set of principles.